What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Friday NBA DFS Slate Starter. I'm Eric Lindquist, joined with my buddy Rinpack as we break down the 8-game Friday NBA DFS slate. I said NBA DFS a lot in that sentence, but you know what? We're going to keep rolling. Rinpack, how's it going? We're shooting a little earlier in the day, so not too much feedback on the slate today yet.
Not as well as you. Eric's fresh off a 20K bink in the NHL streets. Took it down on NHL opening night. Just taking the NBA slate starter talents over to the NHL streets over there. Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I should be the poster child for Awesemo.com right now because I can't believe I binked hockey. I mean, of all the things that I would be binking, that is not at the top of the list. But we have an unbelievable team out here led by Jay Kari, and watched the show, did a bunch of work on the projections, and you know, sometimes you get lucky. So it was nice to get a bink in early this year, and hopefully it can carry over into NBA. But more importantly, we're here to help you guys get better, and we want to identify a couple of plays here early on as we take a look at our first looks at the DraftKings and FanDuel slates for Friday. So let's get right to it. But before we do, if you could, just go down, if you're watching us on YouTube, go down to the bottom bar, click subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when this and all the other content at Awesemo goes live. And, you know, just keep the lights on here for us if you like what we do. So let's get right to it. Sitting at the top end on FanDuel, point guard Luka Doncic, 11,600, coming off a torching of Charlotte, 34 minutes, and just an absolute fantasy bomb that he dropped at 77.1. I remember a week ago people were questioning if Luka was okay. I found that to be enjoyable, to just watch him go absolutely berserk. So I think he could do that again against Dallas. LeBron James over on DraftKings is 9,700. I bet he ends up being questionable, just saying. And then Trae Young and Ja Morant. So Ja Morant at 8,500 is actually questionable for Friday. So you might be seeing his return after the ankle injury that he sustained a couple weeks back. So talk to me a little bit about this top tier point guard.
Yeah, you're going to love Luka Magic quite a bit. He was absolutely sensational against Charlotte last time out. And his ownership, if Luka had not disappointed so many people earlier in the season, I think it would have been much, much higher. And I think it's going to pick right up against a tougher Milwaukee matchup. I think Drew Holiday is going to be guarding him for much of the game. So Luka at 11.6 is definitely very expensive. There's some other high spend-up options on FanDuel where you could spend that salary on. I think pivoting to guys like Trae Young, who was very, very impressive in just 25 minutes of play against the undermanned Philly team, where Trae put up 44 fantasy points, showed signs of an old self over there. And I think he's going to pick up some of that lost Bogdanovich usage a little bit. And I think we can definitely consider paying down to De'Aaron Fox at 7,300, who's been very impressive the last two times out, putting up north of 40 fantasy points both ways. So those are that's how the upper tier looks like, especially on DK, where you can obviously play LeBron James at $9,700. He's coming in with triple-double upside. I'm going to like that, but I think we can also consider SGA against a much favorable Chicago Bulls matchup at $7,700. I think you're going to have to project him in the high 30s, low 40 fantasy points. How do you feel about SGA? And what do you think about Marcus Smart, 7,600 on DK? I know the Boston situation is going to be one that we're going to be looking at all day tomorrow.
Yeah, we have Jaylen Brown questionable, so it's a jarring tag to see 7,600. Jarring is like my word. I think if something like catches me abruptly, it's just jarring to me, and 7,600 is definitely a jarring tag. So he would have to be the guy, though. Again, I thought that other night before that game got canceled, I thought Marcus Smart was just a pure lock. That he was going to play 44 minutes and chuck it 35 times, and that would have been a lot of fun to watch. So you're probably not going to have that as long as a couple of these Boston guys are good to go. But keep track of that news because it's going to be monumental to the shape of this slate. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, you'll never hear me say anything bad against him. Probably play him too much at this point. I played him against the Lakers and got a little trigger happy there, but I'm happy to go back to the well. The assist rate is just double of what it was last year. He's got all the usage in the world. I'm very happy to continue on that train. A couple guys that I'm looking at fading as we're kind of like working our way down in this range. Jordan Clarkson, that was the guy that I wanted to bring up. 6,100 is his tag on DraftKings. I mean, 6,100 for Jordan Clarkson, I think I'm good. I'll probably pick pass on that. And then one other guy that's probably going to, I don't know, he's just kind of like randomly had exposure throughout. But Damian Dotson, 5,200, don't play Damian Dotson. Don't do that to me. So anybody else that you might be looking at shorting at point guard?
I think $6,400 Kobe White against this OKC team is someone that we should definitely be considering all tomorrow. And $7,400 on DK. I think both are very appealing price points. And they've had a long layoff, so they're going to be well rested and ready to go. Maybe there's some rust, but I doubt it. They're NBA players. They should be just fine.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, so not so much fades. All good things from Rinpack. Rinpack can't talk slander on this show. That's not something that he's here for. So he just gives you the goods. He just tells you all of his plays. So going to the top of shooting guard, if you're looking up at the top end there, Zach LaVine's 9K on FanDuel, which is just fine by me. He's 9,500 on DraftKings. That's a jarring price. So if you look at that, though, he's definitely been worth it, especially in the last two where he's gone for 59.25 and 66.75 DraftKings points. That's going to be a fascinating thing to watch his ownership tomorrow, because against a bad OKC team, it could end up pretty high, even at that number. So keep that in mind. Keep refreshing those projections. Paul George, 9,400. Been playing great this year, but I'm still going to try to be riding Kawhi in as many spots as I can, and there's only a $200 difference between them. So I'll go with the historically better fantasy player. And then Jaylen Brown, 8,900. If he's good to go, all he does is put up 50-point fantasy games when Jason Tatum's out. So definitely would have some interest there. So talk to me a little bit about the top end of shooting guard.
Yeah, on FanDuel, Zach LaVine has earned a 9K price tag, and I think he's firmly in play. Yeah, he can definitely put up 50 fantasy points yet again against the OKC defense. So I'm not too concerned there. I think you're going to have a little game stack on the other side on FanDuel. Just have a LaVine SGA shooting guard duo. It seems like an interesting way to go upon things. I think Donovan Mitchell is slowly showing signs of his all-star self. He put up 35 fantasy points in a game that they blew out Cleveland. So that's pretty promising to look at. You have to definitely consider $6,200 Marcus Smart. And hey, shout out to Buddy Hield, man. He came through for us, put up 40 fantasy points in 3 quarters.
I was waiting for it.
And he was sensational. And 5,700, I think he could do it again. Keep in mind the Clippers situation. Pat Beverly and Lou Williams are both questionable. If for some reason they're both get ruled out, that puts Reggie Jackson and Luke Kennard for make them great value plays for sure. But they're questionable right now. Just monitor that situation over there. Reggie Jackson's the min on DK, and Kennard is 3,600 with shooting guard, small forward eligibility. Other shooting guard options to definitely, where their price points definitely stick out to me right now are if Bledsoe plays, but he's questionable right now, I think we can consider his $5,700 Eric Bledsoe. Outside of that, no one else really stands out to me. I think Cam Reddish, who has shooting guard eligibility on DK, seems like an okay value play right now. And are you do you have any interest in last night's wonder child, Nickeil Alexander-Walker?
I was going to ask you. I was going to ask 4.4. You. I was going to set that up for you. I have to answer that? Well, he's 4,400 on DraftKings. I mean, that's not nearly as bad as I believe he's 5,500 on FanDuel. Yeah, so 4,400 is still a really good tag. We already got news this afternoon that Lonzo Ball is going to be out again tomorrow, so I'm fine with it. You kind of got to wait on that Bledsoe news, and it's a 10 p.m. game, but I doubt he falls through the cracks on DraftKings after that eruption spot. I don't expect, 35 or 37 raw points and whatever he put up, 50-plus fantasy point outing. No, that's just not going to happen. But 4,400 is something he can definitely get on top of, and he just proved why. So how about yourself? What are you going to do with him?
I'm going to monitor the Bledsoe situation. I would only really have interest in Nickeil Alexander-Walker if Bledsoe is out. And that's so I'd be a little limited in the sense it's a tough matchup against the Lakers.
Agreed. Yeah, monitor news. We keep saying it over and over again. That's not going to change, especially this year, where don't you even try to set a lineup an hour before lock, because it can be difficult. It can look completely different in minute by minute. So before we get over to small forward, NBA packages starting at $4.95 per week. Go to awesemo.com/joinnba. Take a look at some of the offerings that we have. Obviously, I am I'm not a hockey guy, but I can luck box into that. You can take a look at the Awesemo Plus Platinum package. But if you want to just try out the NBA stuff, awesemo.com/join NBA, and you have an opportunity to try out the builders, or the lineup builders, check out the game plan videos, projections, Slack chat, all of the beautiful offerings that we have over here at Awesemo, and I guarantee you will not be disappointed. Rinpack, let's move on over to small forward here. So at the top end on FanDuel, LeBron James is $9,900, Kawhi Leonard $9,600, Jaylen Brown's $9K over there. He's small forward eligible over there, and then Brandon Ingram, my boy, is $8,800, but he is playing the Lakers, which has not been a beautiful matchup. I'm not a big DVP guy when it comes to fantasy sport, or when it comes to fantasy basketball specifically. But the Lakers have kind of trounced everybody here the last couple of weeks and really suppressed fantasy outputs from a lot of these top names. Talk to me about this top tier, specifically my boy Brandon Ingram. Is there hope for him?
Well, Brandon Ingram is in a revenge spot against his former Laker team. 8,800. It's kind of expensive. Obviously, he kind of struggled against the Kawhi Leonard matchup. Maybe he struggles against a Laker matchup where many teams have in the past. I'm going to be looking to somehow find those extra $800 to pay up for Kawhi Leonard against a very favorable Sacramento matchup who seems to cure every offense's problems right away. So I think Kawhi Leonard against Sacramento seems like my favorite small forward right now on the slate. I think there's some other cheap options to definitely consider. On DK, where Leonard's obviously $9,600. Ingram is $8,600. Obviously, maybe we go back to him just because he disappointed some people last times out. Maybe he surprises us. I think you can always consider Chris Middleton, but that price tag is kind of getting expensive for me right now, especially on DK. $8,200 seems pretty expensive, but on FanDuel, $7,400 seems just like a just fine option. I'm starting to hop off Harrison Barnes. I don't think this is sustainable. His shooting rates have been very, very efficient. I do expect that to come down as he did last time out against the Trailblazers. I think he'll continue to struggle against the Clippers for sure. Any other cheap options? Are you interested in Josh Hart after being burned last time out?
Yeah, no, I did not enjoy that. That was an unfun day. So I don't know, 5,200. It's hard for me to go back to guys that I go that heavy on that just completely do that to me. But I'm happy. One thing you got to always be looking at in NBA DFS is getting back on these guys who burn you, because they burned everybody else too most of the time, especially if they were deemed a good play, if they were somebody that was in a great spot. Like Josh Hart, for me, one of the main appeals of him is that he's got such a high rebounding rate for a guy of his size at his position. So if he's not getting up and getting boards to possibly spike that double-double upside, it's hard for me to really want to go to him on DraftKings. But I still think as long as Eric Bledsoe's out, 5,200, I'll be right back on it. So even in that spot, another revenge spot, if you want to say, even though I don't know how much revenge Josh Hart has in his heart, because, his last name's Hart. That's so bad. I have no idea what I'm doing. I do
think we can play him at $4,400 on FanDuel.
Okay, $4,400. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. See, this is why you need to do rosters, salaries just came out, so we're scrambling here ahead of time. So 4,400 Josh Hart is beautiful. Absolutely play him over there, no questions asked. 5,200, I still have to think about it a little bit, but there's that double bonus, which makes me a little bit more intrigued for him, especially if Bledsoe, who's a good rebounding guard, is out of that lineup. So and Lonzo Ball is out as well, so also another rebounding guard. So anybody else that you're looking at?
No, it's going to be a situation for news to pay attention to. There's some new players in the Cleveland rotation. They're expected to play. You never know. Things can change on the day of over there with the trade that went down. Just monitor news at Awesemo NBA will help you guide you throughout the day and keeping a track of who's in and who's out. Love
it. Yeah, News God with a Z. I keep plugging the guy, poor guy. He's getting, oh no, he loves it. Stop it. He's getting bombarded, but he deserves it. He keeps everybody on top of things. So make sure you give him a follow. El Negro Loco over on Twitter, on the Twitter machine. So Giannis Antetokounmpo sitting at the top end of power forward, 10,800 on DraftKings. Best fantasy basketball player there is, best rates. Him and Luka, both of them on the same slate back to back is pretty intriguing. Like if you can find value on a slate, that becomes the two like de facto best spend up options regardless of ownership. So I feel like it's a pretty easy play as long as you can get up to him and there's enough value that exists. Anthony Davis 9,800, and then Tatum's already ruled out, and so you've got Julius Randle, who's kind of been. It's hard to get a gauge on exactly what we're supposed to do with Julius Randle here. He still played 40 minutes last game. Taj Gibson got active. Do you have any read on this situation? Should we be going, or should we just like no fail, like have all the confidence in the world we're going to still see these 40 minutes run from Julius Randle?
It's Thibodeau. I'd expect so. But obviously he has a fallback option in as one of his former guys, and you know how Tibbs loves all his exes. So you're going to have to consider $9,100 Randle, even though keeping that in mind. Anthony Davis is probably going to be someone who I want to go back to yet again. He's been disappointing this year. There's going to be a 60-point fantasy game from Anthony Davis at some point. I've been chasing it all year long, and I hope it happens against his former team against the Pelicans, but Giannis leads the way. You're going to have to project Giannis as one of the highest scoring players of the day. He could easily be the highest scoring player by 20 points. That's how good Giannis is. You got to keep that in mind for sure, especially on FanDuel, where just trying to find like two of the best plays just in the power forward position. It's going to be hard to pay down there. I think you can consider a Brandon Clark at 5,600, even if John Moran is back, just for like finding another power forward to consider. I think Tristan Thompson, I believe, has power forward eligibility. He's questionable as well for Boston. So if he's in, I'll have some interest. They ruled out Wancho in Minnesota, so there's going to be some extra minutes that open up. Any interest in going back to James Johnson, all the way down at 4,200?
Yeah, he was somebody that I was on the other night. I kind of was going back and forth with what those minutes would look like with Porzingis back in the rotation, and he looks good. Like, he looks legitimately pretty good out there. I mean, we know that he's very, very good at not kung fu or karate. It's something. He's very good at kickboxing or something of the sort. Like, the guy's not somebody you want to meet in a dark alley, but he's also somebody that looks really, really good on a basketball floor. So James Johnson, somebody that if I were to get some exposure to, I wouldn't be too upset with it, but not looking to like go jamming him in too hard anywhere. We've got a couple of these like cheaper guys. So you've got James Johnson at 4,200 there. Isaiah Roby was just garnering a lot of ownership over there. I guess Al Horford, though, is going to be back. He was just sitting out for rest, so that would be a definite no. Is there anybody else in this bottom end of power forward that you would be interested in, specifically on FanDuel, as you're trying to find somebody to get away from if you weren't going to play Giannis and Anthony Davis?
It'll be tough for me to do that. Going back to what you said about James Johnson, I'm pretty sure James Johnson had mentioned he was going to consider the UFC once his NBA career is done. He does have a couple of black belts on actually officially. So he's probably one guy you don't want to mess with. I wasn't lying. I did know that. You want him on your side, yeah. Yeah. I think with no Juancho Hernan-Gomez, could we consider taking a long shot GPP flyer and Jared Vanderbilt?
Oh, I thought you were going to go the Naz Reid direction or something. Thank God you didn't, because apparently people think I'm obsessed with the guy, which I might be. I do like Naz Reid a lot. He just needs minutes. Jared Vanderbilt, if you were to get more than 20 minutes, I looked up his rates the other day. He's like a 1.18 fantasy point per minute producer, somebody that can really, really get on top of it. The problem is you never see more than 20 minutes of run. If you were to somehow be able to project him with Wancho out to be able to get that extra run, that's definitely somebody I'd want some GPP exposure to. I love that call, actually. Somebody that might be able to fit into the builds, and on an 8-game slate, you don't have to go too far off the reservation to be different, but there's definitely some paths depending on how this Boston news shakes out and some of these other spots that you can definitely take some shots on somebody like Jared Vanderbilt. I like that call a lot. Anybody else?
I think there's a couple other guys who I think you should definitely be considering. I think Bogdanovich of the Jazz 4,300 on FanDuel. I absolutely love that against
Mhm.
Atlanta, and 5,300 on DK. He's definitely in play over there. So he's very enticing to me on the FanDuel roster construction way things look now. Obviously, 20 hours ahead before the late slate starts.
Guys, we are cruising today. We are making that push for 50K subscribers before the Super Bowl. I'm going to repeat it one more time. If you could, just please go down to the bottom bar, hit subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. It just does a lot of great things for us, and we're getting close to that number. We're just pushing it, and we want to keep Rinpack wearing nice jackets like he's got on today. We want to make sure that that he can keep those nice clothes in his closet. So if you could, just please hit the like button. I was going to say, you said that's from Banana Republic.
Yeah, it's just found something in the closet to change things up today.
Looks like a Theory or a Rag and Bone jacket. Man, it looks fancy. So, all right, well, let's round out.
I might have to come to the NHL streets to be able to pull that off.
Don't say those things. The NHL streets are mine. Those are mine to domain. Like it's and you know, I took a little light. I took it a little bit lighter today for everybody. So enjoy your bank over on FanDuel today. I'll get you in a couple weeks once everything slows down and NBA gives me more shots at it. So let's go to the center. Let's just keep it moving. Finish this thing out. Sitting on the top on FanDuel, KarlAnthony Towns, $10,800. It's a big number, but we saw 34 minutes right out of the gate. He's had two 50-plus fantasy point outings in his last three. I guess he sat out the second half of the back-to-back against San Antonio. So we know the ceiling can be there. If he were to run into the 37, 38-minute mark, which is more than possible as he's coming back from that wrist injury, somebody that you could definitely see winning that position out big time. So problem is you got Andre Drummond sitting for 1,000 less. It's hard to imagine. What are these minutes going to look like? First of all, is Jared Allen going to be possibly able to play? Is that like something that he could even like be on the roster? I'm not sure how this all works with COVID. How soon somebody could get just be added to the team without going through protocols. I'm not sure how that looks, but keep your eye on the news of that, because if Andre Drummond doesn't have Jared Allen sitting behind him, somebody that I still want to have some exposure to. And then Vooch against Boston. That front court is very depleted. 9,400 Vooch. We've seen him just start to go bonkers in a couple of the games. The problem with him is he never gets over 32, 33, 34 minutes. We want to see that run get extended if we're going to be paying 9,400 for a center. Talk to me about these top end.
Now, you're going to love KarlAnthony Towns, especially when you put up north of 50 fantasy points in the same matchup last time out. I think you can definitely consider it a 10-8 price tag I believe he's a 9-9 price tag over there on DK. Anthony Davis has center eligibility on DK, which makes for a fine pivot depending on what ownership comes in at. The Cleveland situation is going to be tough to configure, man. They have so many bigs over there. They have Nance, they have Drummond, they have Jared Allen, they have JaVale McGee. Man, someone needs to get traded there soon. There's too much for us to deal with. But $9,800 Andre Drummond against New York. Yeah, we got to pay attention to what ends up happening in Cleveland. Maybe reading some coaching notes on how he's going to adjust minutes and whatnot. I think Jonas Valanciunas in Memphis put up 50 fantasy points against KarlAnthony Towns. Man, you're going to like to spend down and save that money and go to him. 7-1 on DK, 7K on FanDuel. Seems like a fine option to me. And other spend down options, I think Wendell Carter Jr., 6,200 against Oklahoma City. Man, I just want him to consistently play over 30 minutes. So why can't Donovan just let him go and just let him loose, which is really frustrating. $5,600 on FanDuel. I'm going to like that. And then Mitchell Robinson's always going to be in play just because of his massive, massive block upside. And Cauley-Stein has seemed to get the center run in Dallas. Price up to 5K, well-deservedly so. Comes off a north of a 30 fantasy point performance against the Charlotte Hornets last time. I think we can definitely consider Willie Cauley-Stein. He's 4,500 on DK. Makes for some fine spend down options over there. Do you have anyone interest in anyone cheaper than Cauley-Stein? Is there a center someone who stood out to you, possibly Al Horford or Brook Lopez?
Yeah, my Nerlens Noel call of the day, or whatever we want to dub that. Obviously, I'm not calling Nerlens Noel tomorrow. Do not even put that on me. But somebody, gosh, I'm not sure. it's kind of a spot. You have Vanderbilt, who has center eligibility on DraftKings at 3,900. So that's a spot that I could see taking some shots. I think you convinced me in like 5 seconds that I want to have Jared Vanderbilt in my life. So that might be a good spot to like mix it up. But some of these mid or like these upper tier centers are such good plays. It's hard for me to see anything. We've been punting center a lot because we had the DeAndre Jordan the other night. We had Roby at 3,100. We had a lot of those over on DraftKings where we were able to jam in a bunch of centers, but it doesn't look as good or enticing down there as what it did earlier this week. I don't see anything under 4K that I'm really like in love with. Or that I'm even like remotely interested in. Zubac is 4K. That's probably like the furthest down, but like it's hard. Ibaka there. He's been playing under 22, 23 minutes, so probably going to be a pass for me there. Do you have somebody under 4K that you like?
Quick answer, no.
Okay. Well, wow. Thanks for setting me up for success there with that segment. Rinpack, do you want to close it out for us here today?
No, thanks for joining us this whole week. We love your likes. We love your subscribing to the YouTube channel. Feel free to drop a comment about your favorite play tomorrow. We'll happily chime in and share our thoughts. Follow Eric on Twitter at Eric Lindquist to see his NHL pretty screenshot over there. Nice $20,000. You can follow me at Rinpack. And we hope you guys have a great weekend, and we hope you enjoy the NBA slate throughout the weekend. We'll catch you Sunday night.
Couldn't have done it better myself. We'll see you guys later. Enjoyed it. Take it easy. Good luck.